Join us at Women of Courage and celebrate the achievements of women. Before we begin, we're going to take a few moments to collect ourselves and to relax before we engage into our discussion. What we need to do is to focus now on bringing positive energy into our lives and into the world. The energy that we project every day is the same energy that we get back. We have all seen those people that can walk into a room and they glow. People want to be around them. People feel better being in their presence. That's the energy that we need to create. And once we learn how to do this, our lives will be filled with greatness. We will attract that positive energy. And how we can do this is by changing our outlook, meeting every day with gratitude, thankfulness, optimism, and once you do this, you will see a change in yourself. I want you to take a moment and close your eyes. Think about everything positive in your life: family, friends, a career, your faith. All of this is how you start your day. Every morning when you wake up, I want you to think about what is positive in your life. I want you to list 10 reasons why your life is amazing. You will see the change. You will be changed. You will begin to attract life's blessings. Lead with gratitude. Be thankful and think positive. Hello, this is the Women of Courage show, and I am Gloria Lee, your host. For the most part, almost all of our broadcasts are dedicated to trying to get men and women to focus their attention to changing their behavior to live a better life. You must understand your change is essential to the well being and survival of your children. We want children to avoid the profession of prostitution and living a life in prison. When you change, you will see the possibilities available to you. You do not have to continue to live a life that you hate and a life that you are truly ashamed of. Poverty does not have to define you. Let your strength and perseverance define you. You can listen to us at home, in your car, or at work on your lunch hour. It is essential that you get a daily dose of encouragement every day. Just a few minutes a day of listening to us can make learning effortless. You can even listen to us while you're preparing dinner or just as you are about to fall asleep. We want you to fit our broadcast into your day. This is why we put all of our broadcasts on the YouTube channel Touched by the Light Publishing. Our goal is to inspire you to greatness. So give Women of Courage a listen to throughout the week, and please support us by purchasing a book today from our website, touchedbythelight.us. Thank you. The Women of Courage show is brought to you by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries. The Ministries is a reading ministry. We believe the world becomes alive when it is explained through reading. Thus, our presentation to you today. All of our efforts are toward demonstrating that when women work together, they win. Yet women cannot win without knowledge and power. Neither of these abilities can come without reading. Power is the ability to make things happen, to move things, or to bring about a particular event. Knowledge is power and education is power. Without either, a person is ineffective to bring about a particular event. Without violence, power is never given, it is always taken. Our attempt to take power has to be without violence because of our lack of testosterone. Consequently, women must learn how to take power and learn how to manage it without mimicking men. The only way we can accomplish any of this is to gain knowledge through reading. You may think that you are too busy to read, but you need the information that I have accumulated for you. You are an integral part of our effort. We are trying to reach the women who have given up, the adulteress, the whore, the woman who does not believe, the woman who's contemplating suicide, the woman who wakes in the morning hating her husband, the woman who screams at her children, the woman who has lost her home, the woman who has failed at school, or the woman who is bitter over her divorce. I am looking for the betrayed, the adulteress, the whore, and the downtrodden. I am looking for the woman who wants to fight back but does not know how to fight. I want them to know that the battle is not over. Failure is just another way of standing up. I am trying to reach these women because I want to try and save their lives. Now to the video of why you are here. We present the video. Reading is one of the most important activities that a person can participate in. A world of information is available to you. This information can help you shape and change not only your life but the lives of your children and spouse. Visit the website touchedbythelight.us and find yourself a book to read. For more information, you can email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com. Reading is defined as the accumulation of knowledge. Reading is one of the processes by which human beings gather information for conducting their lives, which includes working and recreating. When this process is inhibited for whatever reason, the person cannot conduct his or her life successfully. The person meets with bad results. When a person cannot read or does not read well, or she will live the life of a beggar, a cheat, a liar, or will end up in prison or the grave. They will never receive what God had in store for them. Reading is the most important human activity any man can participate in. When you ignore reading, you will have actually cut yourself off from other people around you. Our prisons are filled with people who do not know how to read. Our graveyards are filled with people who did not know how to read. You are not successful today because you cannot read or refuse to read. You continue to think you can conduct your life on the information you learned in high school. Your life is in ruin because you cannot read or do not read. Many of your children are in prison today because you did not read to them or teach them to read or teach them the importance of reading. Many of your children are dead because you did not read to them or teach them to read or teach them the importance of reading. Reading teaches discipline. Reading will tell you about another man's courage. Reading will tell you how to correct some of the mistakes in your life. Reading will help you solve some of life's problems. Reading will teach you how to find a job. Reading can help you learn a profession or a trade. Reading will help you improve your health. When you do not read, you depend on hitting the numbers to get you ahead in life. You turn to gambling thinking that if you wager enough money in a casino, that will help you survive. When you do not read, you go to the casino and wager your life savings trying to win big at the casino. When you do not read, you depend on prostituting yourself to get money. Try to attract a man with your butt or your breast size just to get money. When you do not read, you will go around the community looking for free food, free clothes, anything free that will help you. When you do not read, you bring men into your home who do not belong there, telling your children to call him daddy. When you do not read or cannot read, you are walking around with no understanding of life. Let me say this again. When you do not read or cannot read, you are walking around without an understanding of life, and you will meet with poor results. You will not pay your bills correctly. You will not purchase the right car. You will not know how to purchase a home. You will not know how to complete your income tax. You will waste money at the bar. You will purchase cheap items to booster your self-esteem. You will live in a poor neighborhood. You will not have a savings account. You will pay money for goods and services. You will pay more money for goods and services. You will be at the mercy of your fellow man. Your children may or may not go to college. Many of your girls will become pregnant and never graduate from high school. You will suffer from many illnesses brought on because of a poor diet or poor eating habits or tradition. You will become more and more adamant and shun change, all because you do not have knowledge, whereas you can obtain this knowledge through reading. Hear me well, you are failing in life because you cannot read, or you refuse to read, or you refuse to learn to read competently. When you shun knowledge, you remain in the darkness. You will never reach the light, and you will never see God. Your salvation depends on your ability to read. At this juncture, I'm going to introduce some information on reading. This is extremely important. Reading will determine the consequences of your life. Reading will help you learn how to deal with the problems of low self-esteem. Reading will help you learn a new profession. Reading will help you learn how to deal with other people. I have discussed reading on several of my shows. I made these discussions because I believe reading is important. I think reading is a fundamental function in life. I truly believe the more one reads, the greater the life a person can potentially have. This is why I'm going to discuss reading again. I do not think I can talk enough about reading. Reading is one of the most important activities that a person can participate in. A world of information is available to you when you read. This information can help you shape and change your life. Reading can instruct you on how to conduct a conversation at an embassy, how to talk to people that you do not know, how to talk to people about everyday subjects that they would enjoy. Reading can help you learn how to fish. Reading can help you learn how to solve math problems. Reading can help you learn a new profession. Reading can help you learn how to eat better, how to meet people, how to select a hobby. The field is endless to what reading can offer you. What I want to do today is to help you to develop a conviction for reading. Let's explore the word conviction. The word conviction is a noun. The word conviction has two meanings. One is a formal declaration that someone is guilty of a criminal offense made by the verdict of a jury or the decision of a judge in a court of law. For example, one can say in a sentence, she had a previous conviction for a similar offense. So in this situation, we know we're talking about someone that is a felon. The second meaning for the word conviction is a firmly held belief or an opinion. This is the meaning that we are going to consider today. Think about a firmly held belief or an opinion. Religion is a firmly held conviction. What we want to do today is to develop a firmly held conviction that reading can change our lives. Therefore, we should read every day. I'm going to try to prove to you today that if you begin a lifetime of reading, these efforts will change your life forever, and that your efforts in reading will impact your family more than you can imagine. Because when your children see you read, they will learn the value of reading from your behavior. Studies have shown that the third grade is the tipping point for future success as a learner and a member of society. Up to the third grade, we learn to read. After the third grade, we read to learn. If this critical skill is not mastered by age 8, people not only fall behind in school, they fall behind in life. And the proof of that is in our prison system. Our prisoners are filled with people who do not know how to read. The men in prisons are fathers, sons, and brothers needed in our homes. The women that are in prison are the mothers and daughters and sisters that are needed in the home. Reading will restore men and women. Reading will restore families, and reading will heal the wounds caused by the inability to read. Reading is not a simple behavior. Reading is intricate in formulating how you want to live your life. When you cannot read, you will not pay your bills correctly. You will not buy the right car. You will not know how to purchase a home. You will not know how to complete your income tax. You will waste money in bars. You will purchase cheap items to bolster your self esteem. You will live in a poor neighborhood. You will not have a savings account or checking account because you don't know how to manage banking and checking accounts. You will pay more money for goods and services. You will be at the mercy of your fellow man. Your children may or may not go to college. Many of the girls will become pregnant and never graduate from high school. You will suffer with many illnesses brought on because of a poor diet or poor eating habits and tradition. You will become more and more adamant and shun change, all because you do not have the knowledge you need from reading. The Women of Courage show is dedicated to improving the lives of people we serve. This is why we have designed the Wall Project to provide books for people in prison. The purpose of this program is to try and rehabilitate prisoners before they are paroled. We want to change the way that they think, and books can help do that. The reason why so many men and women end up in prison is because they are ill prepared to assume the responsibility of adulthood, and they cannot read. They are illiterate. Because of their illiteracy, they cannot find jobs or express themselves without violence. Once rejected from the job market, they turn to crime to make a living, and they turn to drugs to bolster their self esteem. If the men and the women in prison are not rehabilitated while in prison, when they are paroled, they will not be able to compete in the job market, and they will repeat the same behavior. People will be killed on the streets, homes will be broken into, and elderly women will be murdered in their beds. Now imagine you are a student in school and you have been assigned to give a speech before your class. You've never given a speech before, so what do you do? Do you sit and fret about giving the speech, or do you seek information that will tell you how to give that speech? If you are smart, you will go to the library and ask a librarian if she can give you some good books on how to give a speech. Whether you are a student in school or an adult at work or in your community, there are times in our lives when we are asked or told to give a speech. There is no way out of it. No matter how you feel about it, You have the assignment and you have to do it. This probably wouldn't be a problem except for the fact that public speaking is the number one fear of most people. However, you feel about doing this task, reading a book on how to give a speech can be life changing. Reading a book about giving a speech that can make your task easier and your life easier, more comfortable, and less stressful if you follow the experience of the author. To seek the advice of a librarian, you learn that reading can help you out of your problem, that reading can give you the solution to some of the problems that you are experiencing in life. Now, here is another example of the consequences of reading. Imagine it is around 1938 or 1939 in Germany. A book was written that changed the lives of 80 million people. Let me say this again. There was a book written in Germany that ended up changing the lives of 80 million people. A man in Germany wrote a book in 1937. The book he wrote changed the lives of millions of people all around the world, every ethnic group. The man's name was General Heinz Wilhelm, last name spelled Guderian. He was a military theorist. The title of the book that he wrote was ACHTUNG. I would say that it's translated as the word attention. Now, the book was not a bestseller, but it caught the attention of one man in Germany. That man was Hitler. Hitler was just coming to power in Germany, and he had made up his mind that he wanted to invade Poland and Czechoslovakia. And he was trying to figure out how he could do it successfully. And this book gave him the idea of how to conquer these two countries. What a book for Hitler to read. Hitler learned to use the airplane for artillery. The book also gave Hitler the idea of how to use tanks, how to keep tanks that were in constant communication with one another via a radio. This had never been done in warfare. Although France had the superior tank, the tanks were not managed the way that Hitler decided to manage them. Hitler developed the Panzer unit as a superior fighting force, and he did this by studying the attack techniques described in the book. The information written in the book by this general changed military history forever. If Hitler had not read this book, the course of human history would have been much, much different. Think of all the changes in the world that have taken place because some man or woman read a particular book that spurred them on to invent a new way of doing something, or a new invention like the wash machine or the elevator or the fire hydrant. So far, we have discussed how reading affects people in their daily lives, how reading affects people that commit crimes, and how reading affects people experiencing a social upheaval. Now we need to decide how reading is going to affect you. I am going to pause for a second to take a short break while you listen to information regarding willpower and encouragement. It is all a matter of learning new behaviors. And please remember, it is easier to build strong minds than to repair injured people. What I said is a modification of a quote by Frederick Douglass. He said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Now, The Women and Children's Restoration Ministry is a reading ministry founded on the principle that if one reads, one can manage his or her life successfully. The benefit of reading is enlightenment. Reading brings about self awareness, and reading teaches one to problem solve, even if the problem is managing one's emotions. We advocate that people read all of their lives. We believe reading opens the door to possibilities and shows a person how to tap into his or her imagination as others have done before them. Reading is also a way out of poverty and ignorance. Poor children are overwhelmed at birth, especially black male children. Since the dissolution of the black family, 85% of black children are raised by women who are poorly trained and ill suited to be parents. You are ill suited to be a parent if you refuse to take time to read to your child or read for yourself. You are ill suited to be a parent when you stick your child in front of a television or video game so he or she will be out of your hair. You are ill suited to be a parent when you continue to bring non related males into your home straight from the bar just because the man winked at you. You are ill suited to be a parent if you teach your daughter that all she has to do in life is to push her buttocks and breast out to attract a man. And you are surely ill suited to be a parent when all you think about is walking around, allowing your derriere to flop in the wind, thinking your buttocks is going to attract some man. Our children are surrounded by people living by tradition instead of living by creativity and hope. Black children are not supported at home to read. Black children are not being taught to value reading. There are black homes where there is not one book in the house. The children do not even receive a book for a present. Black children are not being given a chance to stand up and bat because they are being defeated in the crib. Black Americans are not advancing because they do not read. If you can't read, wear it, or drink it, many blacks are not interested. How many bookstores are in your neighborhood? How many books have you read this year? How many conversations do you have with people about a book that you read? There is a saying that has been repeated throughout generations. If you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. This saying is disgusting. Lack of knowledge is why black people get duped in business, why black women lack self-esteem and easily participate in sexual sin. Many black people cannot read an insurance policy or a purchase agreement. Our young men cannot receive training because they cannot read. They cannot take an exam for a driver's license because they cannot read. And what do? Nothing. Oh, we talk. Talk is easy. It makes one look intelligent. The telling point is there is no action behind the talking. The lack of self-knowledge is why we sell our bodies, why we think having a big butt makes us attractive. And once we get a clipboard and an ink pen, we think we're better than the next black woman. Reading will stop you from acting a fool on your job. Reading will make you think twice before screwing your best girlfriend's husband. Reading will not only teach you about jealousy, envy, and greed, it will teach you the consequences of these emotions. It is incumbent on us all to do something about this problem, lest we face one of these uneducated men breaking into our homes, because surely violence is associated with the lack of education. Once a child is born, every decision made by the mother affects that child, including the toothpaste that you purchase at the store. I want you to consider reading. Stand up and let God see you working to change.
32 million adults in the United States cannot read. And for most of them, it's not that they lack the ability to learn how. They just have grown up in a system that has not allowed them to flourish. And what I want to talk about today is bringing that power back to our communities. It is 2020. We have the resources around us to gain this knowledge. And it comes down to supporting our brothers and sisters to get them back on track. We need to understand that there is power in new information. We cannot hang on to the same things that have been told to us for the last 10 to 15 years. It is a new day. We have new technology at our fingertips that can help our families and our communities. But we need to be able to understand it, to process it, and to take action on it. For those of you that can read, I challenge you in 2020 to dedicate time to help our communities become better. Reach out, volunteer, and donate to help bring education back to our homes. For those of you that cannot read, all that I ask is for you to reach out for help. There are people around you that are willing to help you reach success. This cannot be about pride or being self-conscious. This has to be about you. We want to help you learn how to read so that you can make the decisions you need in this life. It is 2020. No more excuses on either side. If you can, you need to help. If you can't, you need to ask. We are all here for each other. I am talking about our cities, our communities, and our families. Bring the power of education back home.
Reading is an activity like none other. The consequences of reading are extraordinary, just as the consequences of not reading are extraordinary, where you will live your life in darkness. You can sit before an orchestra where the music will thrill you to passion, and for a while you will soar. You can turn the radio on in your car and the music will carry you away, but there is nothing like reading. Reading will not only transport you to another place and time, reading will change the circumstances of your life forever. Reading will carry you to the future, where you will see possibilities, and reading will send you to visit the past, where you will see potential. Music provides a temporary high for your relief from your surroundings, whereas reading can lead you to a permanent relief from everything around you. Reading can change your reality, transforming you into a new person. You can read one paragraph and say, "Why not?" or "Of course." You can read one book and say, "I never thought of that," and read a second book and say, "If only I had known this before." You can see one word on the page and say to yourself, "That can be me. I have possibilities in my life." Once you begin reading in earnest, you will realize that you can learn equally from reading about how a man failed in his life, just as you can learn about how a man succeeded in his life. In fact, learning how a person failed is a good roadmap for success, because failure always provides you with an alternative point of view. Think of the man who decided to construct the street light, or to design the fire hydrant, or to design the light bulb. Where did these ideas come from? What was the source of their inspiration? One source of these inventions was reading. Reading allows for the accumulation of information. When this information is assimilated in the human brain, an idea is born. One invention sparks another invention that sparks another, Great idea, until finally man is raised to an enhanced state of existence. Reading provides the recipe for originality. A man says to himself, there must be a better way. He goes to the library, trying to find that better way. He reads and reads and reads, assimilating information, looking for that better way. If he does not find that better way in the books he has read, he has still learned something. He has learned that he has to invent the better way. This time he begins to read books looking for ideas to help him as he invents.
A person goes to a textbook to learn how to build a house, or how to repair a car, or how to learn how to purchase a computer or buy tires. If the person cannot read or cannot read competently, he or she cannot successfully reach their goal. They will not learn how to purchase a computer or purchase the correct tires. They can ask other people how to do these things, but they are at the mercy of their friends to tell them the truth. We read the Bible to find out what God has to say and to learn how we are supposed to conduct our lives. If we cannot read, or if we cannot read competently, we cannot get the information we need from the Bible to manage our lives properly. A textbook or the Bible will not do us any good if we cannot read, or if we cannot read competently. If you cannot read, or you cannot read competently, the Bible is of no value to you. Listening to a sermon is not good enough. Going to Bible study and coming to church on Sunday, listening to a sermon, is not enough for you to get the type of information you need to accomplish the task of learning what God wants you to do. If you take notes during Bible study and you take notes during a sermon, you will be further ahead, but you are still dependent on another person interpreting Bible for you. You are depending on the integrity of the pastor to give you the right information. To solve this problem so that you will not be misled, you must learn to read, and you must learn to read competently. Relying upon someone else to give you the correct information to conduct your life is extremely dangerous. You will meet with disastrous results if you continue in this path. Consider this. You rely upon your girlfriend for information, so she suggests to you to go to the bar to meet a man. In a few months you learn you have AIDS, all because you let your girlfriend tell you how to solve one of life's problems, loneliness. This is why you must pray and ask the Lord for guidance when you select a friend. You should also pray when you select a church leader. If you cannot read, or you cannot read well, you are placing your life in the hands of that person guiding your church. Your eternal salvation depends on the honesty of your pastor. And believe me, all pastors are not honest. Many pastors are in church for the money. Now, for example, the word with the most drama in the Bible is the little word sin. Sin is what church is all about. Sin is what man is not supposed to do. Well, the problem with this word is it is not clearly defined in our minds. Sin to us is murder, adultery, fornication. Sin is also something else. Sin is any behavior that blocks the blessing of God. You didn't know that, did you? This is the most important definition of sin. It is any behavior that blocks the blessing of God. Why? Because we all want to be blessed by God, correct. But on the other hand, God will bless anyone. So therefore, if you're not being blessed, you're doing something to prevent this blessing. So your behavior is blocking something. We all want God to bless us, right? We all want God to like us. We want God to be satisfied with our performance on the earth. We want God's blessing so we can live a good life. We want God's blessing so we can live a healthy and wealthy life and prosper on earth. No one wants to be poor, sick, and unhappy while living on earth. As Christians, we know our circumstances can change if we receive the blessing from God. Therefore, we strive to get God to like us so we can get this blessing. If you do not realize after reading your Bible there are specific sins that block the blessing of God, you have not read your Bible competently. Now, if you accept the doctrine of Jesus Christ and the edicts of God, then we know our lives can be filled with blessings. How many of you have read the Bible through at least once? How much of it did you remember? You recall most of what you read if you took notes, and only if you review those notes daily. Your mind must be in the habit of taking in information. Your mind must be flexible. You must be in the habit of taking in information, processing this information, and evaluating this information. Now, when you read the book of Chronicles, what was the greatest lesson you learned? Did you realize God wrestled the kingdom from the various kings because the kings refused to abide by his laws? The kings sinned. They refused to be obedient. God gave the kings over to their enemies when the kings did not do as God told them. Were you impressed by this? Did you see yourself in these situations? Or did you quickly read this section telling yourself you understand what the book of Chronicles was all about? Did you see what you did not do as God told you to do, that God would wrestle your life away from you? Or did you think you could escape God's wrath by asking him to give you forgiveness, then continue doing as you please? Did you learn that disobedience is a sin? Did you realize that gossiping is a sin? That lying and cheating is a sin? Did you learn that God withdrew his protection from his people when people began having sex with women outside of marriage? Did you realize that when man did not repent of his sin, the results of the sin was visited upon the person's children for the generations to come? There are more sins than just adultery and murder. When you read the Bible, do you see the association of what is said in the Bible to the way that you are conducting your life? God said for you to teach your children of him. Do you do this? Or is your son in prison because you were too busy working overtime to pay proper attention to what he was doing with his free time? How much overtime did you work to purchase your motorcycle or to pay for your girlfriend's new car, working against the security of your children? How often did you stick your son in front of the television instead of giving him a book to read? How many times did you use the television as a babysitter so you could get your groove on? How often did you read to your son? How many books have you seen your son read? How many books are in your home? Did you repeatedly tell your son through example and through words that learning to read was his way out of poverty? That using a gun was not his way out of poverty? And did you tell him he did not have to learn how to play baseball or basketball or football to get out of poverty? Learning to read will get you out of poverty. Now we shall discuss why you should read. Reading exposes you to so many different things. This helps your imagination when it comes to creating and thinking. By reading, you are painting pictures of the story in your mind. Books can take you anywhere you want to go. When you are reading, you are focusing and concentrating on one thing. By sitting still and reading, you are training your body and mind to slow down, to relax, and to focus on what you are reading. This helps you to focus and concentrate on other activities because you are used to doing this. When you read a book, you are taking in all that the book is about: people, places, and things. When you read, you are using your memory muscle. This is the cerebral part of the brain. Using this part of your brain helps your memory long term. Reading is the best, cheapest form of entertainment that you can do. Love your library and any bookseller because these books can open up your mind to a world that you've never imagined. Your language skills and literacy were developed when your parents read to you or talked to you. So You know that if you read to your children and the more that you talk to your children, this will help develop their language skills. Reading a book for something that you want to learn about saves you so much money. We all know how expensive it is to take classes at college. So why not spend time reading about what you are interested in? You can teach yourself from specific books. When you read, you develop fluency. Fluency is defined as the ability to read with speed, accuracy, and expression. Powerful and effective language. The more you read, the more fluent you become. It has been proven that reading makes you smarter. Readers display greater knowledge of how things work, vocabulary and language development, as well as information on people, places, and things. Now, there are benefits to reading. Reading stimulates you mentally. Studies have shown that staying mentally stimulated can slow the progress of Alzheimer and dementia, since keeping your brain active and engaged prevents you from losing this power. Just like any other muscle in your body, the brain requires exercise to keep it strong and healthy. So the phrase use it or lose it is particularly apt when it comes to your mind. Doing puzzles and playing games such as chess has been found to be helpful with cognitive stimulation. When you read and lose yourself in a book, you will reduce your stress. No matter how much stress you have at work, in your personal relationships, or countless other issues faced in daily life, it all will slip away when you lose your mind, lose yourself in a great book. A well written novel can transport you to other realms, other places, while an engaging article will distract you and keep you in the present moment, letting tension drain away and allowing you to relax. When you read, you gain knowledge. Everything you read fills your head with new bits of information, and you never know when it might come in handy. The more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to tackle any challenges that you'll face. You can also expand your vocabulary by reading. The more you read, the more words you are exposed to, and they will inevitably make their way into your everyday vocabulary. Being articulate and well spoken is a great help in any profession, and knowing that you can speak to a higher up with self confidence can be an enormous boost to your self esteem. Speaking well can aid you in your career, as those who are well read, well spoken, and knowledgeable on a variety of topics tend to get promoted more quickly and more often than those with a smaller vocabulary and lack of awareness of literature, scientific breakthroughs, and global events. Reading books is vital for learning a new language. As a non native speaker, you gain exposure to words used in context, which will help you develop fluency. Also, you need to realize that reading will improve your memory. It will help you develop a stronger analytical thinking skill. Reading will also help improve your focus and concentration. Furthermore, your reading skills will improve. You will feel more at peace with yourself. Reading a book is the biggest change you will ever make in your life. One word or one experience from a book can spark an idea that can lead to wealth and happiness. Take time out from your busy day and read a book. Make one of the books you read the Holy Bible. Reading is important because it develops the mind. Understanding the written word is one way the mind grows in its ability. Teaching your children to read helps them develop their language skills. It also helps them to gain more confidence. Reading is important because it develops our thoughts, gives us endless knowledge and lessons to read while keeping our minds active. Reading books can help us learn, understand, and it can make us smarter. Not to mention the knowledge, vocabulary expansion, and thinking skills we develop. So read, read, read. Setting a purpose for reading will help keep you focused and engaged while reading. And it will give you a mission so that comprehension can be reinforced. Reading with a purpose motivates you and your children. Take the three books, The Devil's Whispers, If You Believe in God, You Don't Belong in Prison, and The Devil's Cauldron. Reading these books will change your life. You can go to the website touchedbythelight.us and read the first chapter of each of these books. Now, we will give you a preview of how these books can change your life. Today, we are going to continue our discussion on reading. During the last show, we talked about how reading affects people in their daily life, how reading affects people that commit crimes, and how reading affects people experiencing a social upheaval. Now you need to decide how reading is going to affect you. How is reading going to affect your life and the lives of your children? The first question that needs to be answered is, can you read? If you can read, how often do you read and what do you read? If you can read and all you read are magazines in the doctor's office or an occasional comic book, then you're cheating yourself. You're missing out on life. Now, there are several reasons, why people do not read. Some of the reasons are people feel that books are too expensive. People feel that I don't have time. People say I don't know what to read. People say, why can't I just watch a movie? Reading keeps me up at night. Reading is too hard. Let us examine three of the reasons why people say that they do not read. We're going to look at the statement, reading is too hard, I don't have time to read, and books are too expensive. True, reading isn't always easy, but it doesn't have to be hard either. Try not to be intimidated when you read. People read books for many reasons, but you don't have to feel that it is an academic experience if you do not want it to be. Reading can be entertainment. It is one of the best reasons for reading. You can pick up a book and have an unforgettable experience. You can laugh, cry, sit on the edge of your seat. Another reason reading is hard to you is because you need to enlarge your vocabulary. You need to purchase a dictionary and a thesaurus and look up words that you are not familiar with when you are reading. Then you should incorporate these words in your everyday speech. Expand your vocabulary by associating with people who speak well. Stop being afraid of educated people. If you talk to educated people, some of that education may rub off on you. Now to the person who says, I don't have time. Think. You just don't have time to pick up a classic? Take a book with you everywhere, and instead of picking up your cell phone to talk to someone, why not open up a book? You can read while standing in line in a waiting room or doing a train commute. If longer works seems overwhelming, start with shorter stories or poetry. It's all about feeding your mind, even if it's only one bit at a time. This excuse really means you are cheating yourself. It is true, once in history, owning a book was once considered a luxury. These days, there are numerous sources for inexpensive literature. The internet has opened a whole new arena for readers. Literature, both old and new, is available on your handheld devices for free or deeply discounted prices. Of course, the most time-honored method for getting access to books of pretty much every description at little or no cost is your public library. You can pick and choose without having to purchase. You can borrow the books and read them at home or read them on the premises or at your job. And with the exception of a late fee or damage, reading from a library is usually free. The bargain section of your local bookstore is another place to find reasonably priced books. Some places do not mind if you read while you're sitting in the store in one of their comfortable chairs. Another great resource for inexpensive books is your local used bookstore. You can buy books cheaper, used and new, and you can also trade in books you've already read or books you know you'll never get around to reading. Some of the major discount retail chains have book sections that sell remain books on the cheap. Now I want you to think back to a problem you had once that you could not solve for yourself. You had to go to someone else for help. The reason why you had to go to someone else for help is because you did not have enough information to solve your own problem. You did not know enough. Maybe it's because you failed to read.
You must read. The lives of your children and the survival of your family depend on what you know and what you do not know. You cannot continue to conduct your life making life-changing decisions based on what you learned 10, 20, or 30 years ago. You must obtain new information through reading. You cannot depend upon talk radio or conversations with your friends to obtain new information. You must begin reading for your survival. The world has changed. You are behind. Admit it. Now change. Whether you like reading is not important. What is important is that you must do more with your life. You say you are a good mother, but are you? If you are not reading, taking in new information to incorporate into your life to become a new person, then you are not a good mother. Why? Because children read when they see their parents read. Children mimic their parents because of their parents' example. Your children need to see you read. Your child will learn to value what you value. If you're not taking in new information, what makes you think your children are growing intellectually? It is not nice to be told you may not be a good mother because you are not reading. But it is not time to be nice. It is time for Black people to begin reading in earnest. Nothing is more important than reading. Nothing. Books should be everywhere in your home and car. Your children should be encouraged to read every day and not watch television. Their time is too valuable to be wasted watching mind-numbing shows or playing video games. You should have your child tested to make certain he or she can read competently. Reading competently means your child can not only tell you what he or she has read, your child can explain what he or she has read in writing. If your child cannot read, he or she has no time for TV. You must stop getting your nails done, purchasing wigs, or $100 purses, and find your child a tutor. If your child cannot read, the only thing you should be doing with your money is paying for a tutor. We are inventive and we are creative. All we need is to catch up with technology, which we can only do through reading.
I am going to read to you from the article, Reading Will Change Your Life. Reading is the gateway to a new life. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, then you need to change. You should pick up a book because therein lies the knowledge of change. The key to life is change. If you want a good life, then you must be capable and willing to change. If I ask you, do you want people to like you or do you want a better job? You will probably say yes to both of those. I do want people to like me and I would like a better job. If you do and you say yes to both these questions and you strive for the results, then you must be capable of change. For it is a given fact that if you change the way you think, you can change and you will change your life. Take the young man who just graduated from high school. He has a job at McDonald's. His friends tell him working at McDonald's is a do-nothing job. After listening to his friends for a while, he accepts his friends' appraisal of his job at McDonald's and he quits. Finding himself idle, he begins to hang out on the street corner. One of his ignorant buddies comes up with the bright idea to rob a liquor store. He follows and robs the store the next day. Soon he is arrested and charged with armed robbery and murder. He is convicted and off to prison he goes. The store owner was killed. He had no idea that his friends were carrying guns. Entire life was changed because he let his friends tell him that he was stupid for working at McDonald's. He also life was changed because he did not realize that he was associating with people who wanted nothing. Our thoughts and emotions are shaped by the way we think, and the way we think is framed by the information that we receive from others. A good filtering process is necessary to keep one's thinking healthy. The young man we just spoke about did not use his filtering process, so his thinking was shaped by negativity and he met with poor results. We must always consider the information we receive from others. One way of balancing the information we receive from others is through reading. Reading opens the door to knowledge. Knowledge opens the door to the imagination. And imagination opens the door to life and prosperity and wealth and health. Change your life for the better. Begin to read. There is not one wealthy person in the world who does not read. And women cannot live better lives without changing the circumstances of their life, and you cannot change the circumstances of your life without new and reliable information. Reading is your way to obtain this information. Reading is your way to better your circumstances. Mood will change when you read. Hope will abound in your spirit when you read. A better life will seem possible with reading. Take time for yourself and read. Life is too short for you to let life pass you by because you lack the knowledge that will come from reading. Certain jobs that can come your way and you can't take these jobs because you don't have the skills. But if you would read, you would develop these skills and life would not pass you by. There is one change you must accept that you have to make in life if you truly want to survive as a human being, and that change is reading. Knowledge comes from reading. Understanding comes from reading. Tolerance and forbearance comes from reading. If you do not read, you have effectively isolated yourself from every other human being on this planet. Reading is one of the most important activities that you will ever participate in. So today you should decide to change. You should decide to become a reader. Either you need to learn to read, or once you learn to read, you need to continue reading. And if you already know how to read, you need to pick up a book written by your fellow man and find out what other people are thinking, what other people are doing around the world. Reading a book is the biggest change you will ever make in your life. One word or one experience from a book can spark an idea that can lead to wealth and happiness. Take time out of your busy day and pick up a book and read. And make certain that one of the books that you read is the Holy Bible. I am going to pause for a second to take a short break while you listen to information regarding willpower and encouragement. It is all a matter of learning new behaviors. And please remember, it is easier to build strong minds than to repair injured people. What I said is a modification of a quote by Frederick Douglass. He said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Now, the Women of Courage show is brought to you by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries. The Ministries is a reading ministry. We believe the world becomes alive when it is explained through reading. Thus, our presentation to you today. All of our efforts are toward demonstrating that when women work together, they win. Yet women cannot win without knowledge and power. Neither of these abilities can come without reading. Power is the ability to make things happen, to move things, or to bring about a particular event. Knowledge is power and education is power. Without either, a person is ineffective to bring about a particular event. Without violence, power is never given, it is always taken. Our attempt to take power has to be without violence because of our lack of testosterone. Consequently, women must learn how to take power and learn how to manage it without mimicking men. The only way we can accomplish any of this is to gain knowledge through reading. You may think that you are too busy to read, but you need the information that I have accumulated for you. You are an integral part of our effort. We are trying to reach the women who have given up, the adulteress, the whore, the woman who does not believe, the woman who's contemplating suicide, the woman who wakes in the morning hating her husband, the woman who screams at her children, the woman who has lost her home, the woman who has failed at school, or the woman who is bitter over her divorce. I am looking for the betrayed, the adulteress, the whore, and the downtrodden. I am looking for the woman who wants to fight back but does not know how to fight. I want them to know that the battle is not over. Failure is just another way of standing up. I am trying to reach these women because I want to try and save their lives. Now to the video of why you are here. We present the video Notable Black Women. Here is something you need to know. The most prolific readers in the United States are educated black women. That's correct. Educated black women read more books than anyone else in the United States. Next, I'm going to read from a speech that I gave before a church, and the speech was regarding reading. The congregation was not a rich congregation. These were people that were coming to church and they had tremendous problems. Here is the speech. Good afternoon. This is not going to be an easy speech to deliver this evening. Discussing reading is not easy because feelings get hurt, people are embarrassed because they're not able to read, and not being able to read is viewed as a shortcoming. People do not take what I say tonight as a criticism, but take what I say tonight as food for the soul. For if you do not change, you will never grow. We can only become stronger if we grow through change. The purpose of church is not for everyone to come to have a good time, but it is a place for you to gain knowledge so your lives will be better. Church is a place for you to gain hope. Tonight, I want to give you an idea of courage and belief in God's word that you are important to my life and everyone else's life. Humble yourself and put aside your pride so you can save yourself and save your children. Please listen to what I have to say regarding reading. My job is not to make you feel bad, nor is my job to make you feel good. My job is to make you stronger so you can win at life. My job is to tell you you can win at life if you change. Think of me as your first sergeant. In the military, the job of the first sergeant is not to get you to be happy or to make you feel better. That first sergeant's job is to teach you how to win so you can survive during a war. You have a choice to make tonight. You will either be ruled by your emotions or you will be ruled by your intellect. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're tired of standing in unemployment lines, if you're tired of standing in welfare lines, if you're tired of eating government cheese, then you will listen to me tonight with your brain and not your emotion. Christians are being defeated because of their emotions and lack of knowledge. We are losing our children to drugs, sex, alcohol, and prison because of our emotions. The battle can be won, but we must have courage and we must change to win and we must follow the Lord. Christians are not winning because they have not developed self-control. But you can defeat your emotions by reading and learning how to develop self-control. You are going to clean yourself up tonight of all your past deeds, and you are going to leave here a new person. Tonight is your new beginning. All of the mistakes that you made in the past, all of your past deeds are gone. There's nothing you can do to change the past. So stop reliving the past. You are now to look forward to the future. And you can look forward to a bright future if you decide to read. You must decide to read as if your life depends on it, because your life does depend on it. The world is changing. There is new technology that you do not understand. The reason why you do not understand this is because you do not read. And part of the problem of not reading is you need to expand your vocabulary. So, to start off, if you're going to really take reading serious, you need to go find a dictionary and you need to find a thesaurus. And you need to start building your vocabulary every day. Take a word and learn the meaning of this word and start using it for a week. Make that word part of yourself. Also, if you're going to start changing, don't tell anyone that you're going to start learning to read, because the first thing they're going to do is laugh at you and say, ah ha ha, there ain't no way you're going to be a better reader than you were yesterday. So don't tell anybody about any changes that you want to make in your life. Just make the changes and go and live a better life. Now, reading is defined as the accumulation of knowledge. I will say it again. Reading is defined as the accumulation of knowledge. Therefore, if you read, you are accumulating knowledge. You are going to be smarter than the person you were before you sat down to read that book. Reading is one of the processes by which human beings gather information for conducting their lives, which includes working and recreating. When this process is inhibited for whatever reason, the person cannot conduct his or her life successfully. The person will meet with bad results. When a person cannot read or does not read well, he or she will live the life of a beggar, a cheat, a liar, or will end up in prison or the grave. They will not receive what God has in store for them. Reading is the most important human activity any man can participate in. When you ignore reading, you will have essentially cut yourself off from other people around you. Our prisons are filled with people who do not know how to read. Our graveyards are filled with people who did not know how to read. You are not successful today because you cannot read or you refuse to read. You continue to think that you can conduct your life on the information you learned in high school. Your life is in ruin because you cannot read or you do not read. Many of your children are in prison today because you did not read to them or teach them the importance of reading. Many of your children are dead because you did not read to them or teach them the importance of reading. Reading teaches you discipline. Reading will tell you about another man's courage. Reading will tell you how to correct some of your mistakes in life. Reading will help you solve life's problems. Reading will teach you how to find a job. Reading can help you learn a new profession or trade. Reading will help you improve your health. When you do not read, you depend on hitting a number to get ahead in life. When you do not read, you go to the casino and wager your life savings trying to win big at the casino. When you do not read, you depend on prostituting yourself to get money. You try to attract men to your breast or buttocks trying to get money to live. When you do not read, you go around the community looking for free food, free clothing, anything that's free that will help you. When you do not read, you bring men into your home that do not belong there, telling your children to call them daddy. Do not read or cannot read, you are walking around with no understanding of life. Say it again. When you do not read or you cannot read, you are walking around without an understanding of life, and you will meet with poor results. You will not pay your bills correctly. You will not buy the right car. You will not know how to purchase a home. You will not know how to compete at work. You will not know how to fill out your income tax. You will waste money in bars. You will purchase cheap items to bolster your self-esteem. You will live in a poor neighborhood. You will not have a savings account. You will not know how to balance a checking account. You will pay more for goods and services. You will be at the mercy of your fellow man. Children may or may not go to college. Many of your girls will become pregnant and never graduate from high school. You will suffer with many illnesses brought on because of your poor diet and poor eating habits and tradition. You will become more and more adamant and shun change, all because you do not have the knowledge you need from reading. Hear me well, you are failing in life because you cannot read, or you refuse to read, or you refuse to learn to read competently. When you shun knowledge, you remain in darkness. You will never reach the light, and you may never see God. Your salvation depends on your knowledge and ability to read. Modern day life is filled with many sources of anxiety and emotional pressures. There is an increasing need to excel at everything and fast. At work, family, friendships all require an individual's attention. We are all chasing something, sometimes driven by our own desire, and often too trying to meet these societal bars and measures of prosperity that have been ingrained into us since childhood. Amidst this rat race that always has us always grasping for something or some reprieve and hanging on to any source of comfort that we can find, there are still those among us who try to drag us down with a lack of faith. It is difficult to understand why anyone would choose to put out negative energy toward the people around them. We are all just trying to get by and achieve our life's goals. It is troubling to have to deal with unnecessary, unproductive criticism and naysaying. In order to thrive, it is important that one finds the boldness to rise above the soothsayers of doom. Undoubtedly, it is a difficult task, especially when the naysayers are loved ones who ought to be cheering you on to greater heights. There are loved ones who are naysayers, and they will repeatedly say negative things to you each and every day. Why? Because they hate themselves, because they know you're striving toward a goal and they are not. I say some naysayers are loved ones who ought to be cheering you on to greater heights, except it is probably worth remembering that non belief is their chosen path, and while you may desire their support and encouragement, you cannot force it out of them. Only an individual in their heart of hearts truly understand what outcomes and achievements they want and hope for out of their own lives. It is important to focus on those life goals and work toward them. One must remain strong against odds, encouraging themselves that it will indeed all come to fruition. Just as darkness cannot drive out darkness, you would be hard pressed to overcome non belief without being tenacious enough to stand in faith. What I am saying is leave the naysayers. I don't care if they're in your family. Avoid them, move across town, change your phone number, whatever. But leave the naysayers to themselves because they are not going to change. And you cannot change them. If you want to make something of yourself, you have to focus. You have to eliminate distractions. You have to eliminate Instagram, Facebook, time wasted even on YouTube, Twitter, video games, Netflix, Dripod, all the apps, having beer, hanging out with your friends on the weekend. You have got to be willing to sacrifice all of that energy that you use for the above things. You have to focus that energy on new goals. Now, people are going to come around you. Let's go on Facebook. Let's go out for a beer. Let's play a video game. Say no and leave the area. You must focus on your new goals. Success is not free. You pay for it by hard work and focusing. The more things you throw on the fire, the more you will be able to focus. You need to research how to develop focus, how to develop laser-like focus, how to pick a niche and become a specialist, how to become a completely different person, how to become a new and completely different person, how to become a new you, and how to obtain your goals at ease. When you get up in the morning and brush your teeth and put your clothes on to go to work, have you ever asked yourself exactly what you were doing? Seriously, have you ever asked yourself exactly what you were doing? What were you trying to accomplish? Exactly what were your plans for yourself? How you were going to accomplish these plans? Did you tell yourself, I'm going to work to take care of my family? That may be so, but there is something missing in that explanation of saying, I'm going to work to take care of my family. The answer is too simplistic. It lacks definition and continuity. Any morning of the week you can say that to yourself, but you would be missing the point. Repetitive behavior is a sign of discontinuity. Could your purpose be disjointed and lack direction? What you need to do is examine your behavior, because without an examination, you may not realize that you are seriously off track. The answer, trying to take care of my family, is too broad. It is without specificity. When did you begin taking care of your family? And when will you end taking care of your family? And where are you doing these events? Your answer encapsulates years of time. And when you finish with all of these years of time, where will you end up? What will be the results of your going to work to take care of your family? Have you considered that maybe you have not given enough thought to what you are actually accomplishing? What do you mean by the phrase taking care of my family? What does that phrase entail? You need a plan, you need a roadmap telling you exactly where you want to go. You need clear cut objectives and a system of how to evaluate your failure or your success. What will help clarify the situation is if you start putting your thoughts in order. You need to segregate your thoughts and behaviors into two camps. Are you winning or losing? What are you doing to win? And if you are not winning, what are you doing to lose? First of all, let us take a look at several definitions. What is winning and what is losing? And what do you consider winning and what do you consider losing? The the dictionary defines winning as an adjective, a superlative adjective, gaining or resulting in or relating to victory in a contest or competition. Winning means being victorious, successful, triumphant, vanishing your enemy, being unbeaten or undefeated. The opposite of winning is losing. The dictionary says that the word losing is also an adjective, meaning suffering, resulting in, relating to defeat in a game or contest, or losing one's side. The dictionary gives us an objective opinion of the words winning and losing. But what is your definition of these two words? Have you noticed there is something about these two words? There's something emotional about these two words, more so than the words adultery or hate. These two words carry a connotation that is not only unpleasant, but one that causes a great deal of upset. There is an emotional attachment to the use of these two words when the words more than other words in our language. One of these words most people want to avoid having associated with them. No one wants to be a loser. If a person is not a winner, most people retreat to a gray area rather than to be called a loser. Two words, winner and loser, implies a personal evaluation of one's self-worth. If you are winning, then you are a winner, and if you are losing, you are nobody. People say to themselves, I want to run as fast as I can so I will not be a loser. I want to do my absolute best so I will not be a loser. Losing is an undesirable condition. People are afraid of this term. It is a label no one wants to wear. It is an awful feeling for someone to be called a loser. Years ago, and maybe even now, women use this term to berate their husbands for failing to buy them a large house or a mink coat or etc. Use of this term makes most people uncomfortable. In the book, What You Must Do to Win, we explore the word winning. We do not pay any attention to the word losing. One of the reasons why we do not pay that much attention to the term loser is because we believe you cannot be a loser until you have given up the fight to try and win. Think of Thomas Edison, Dale Carnegie, and President Abraham Lincoln. They had to tell themselves over and over and over again, I am not a failure, I am not a loser. These phrases of telling yourself, I am not a failure and I'm not a loser, help you get up in the morning. These men persisted throughout mounting failures. You have to consider that after each failure that these men had doubts to the outcome of their future. Just because they eventually ended up doing something great does not mean that they were happy that they did not kick themselves at every failure or that they did not question their decision to pursue that course of their life. For years, these men were failures to those living around them. These men did not live on Fifth Avenue. They did not drive a fine car, and they did not have a fat bank account. All of them were living on the poor side of town. So the question becomes, after such failure, how did they survive and go on to win? In August, we are going to discuss three men who endured great sacrifice to win. The series is called Great Men Come From Nowhere. One of the most effective ways of getting ahead in life is by learning from the mistakes and successes of others. This way, one can avoid the mistakes of other people and possibly achieve success faster. This is one of the reasons why we're going to discuss these three winners during the month of August. These men are examples of the quote made by Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, he said, when a resolute young fellow steps up to the great bully, the world, and take him boldly by the beard, he is often surprised to find it comes off in his hand and that is only tied on to scare away timid adventurers. In other words, if you're not afraid of adventure or fighting back, you stand a great chance of winning. If you do not allow society to chase you away and make you afraid of your adventure. Abraham Lincoln, Dale Carnegie were ordinary men just like us, but they were determined to do something extraordinary because they had a vision, they had a desire, they had dreams. They worked to develop themselves. From the story of their lives, you will learn how to stop living a mediocre life and start conquering your world and living on your terms. For them, failure was not an option. Rather, it was an opportunity to refire and reach for their goals again. They have shown tremendous courage, so much that their lives could easily serve as a template for other men to emulate. Your primary starting point is believing in yourself and encouraging yourself even in the face of failure and naysayer. Let me say it again. Your primary starting point is believing in yourself and encouraging yourself even in the face of failures and naysayers. Thomas Edison failed numerous times, but he kept going back. Finally, he won, and eventually the light bulb and other inventions came into being. The same with Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln failed at politics many times. He even ran for dog catcher and lost, but he kept running for public office until he was elected president. I'm going to repeat 2 points. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that you must deal with the bullies in your life. You must take those bullies on boldly and realize that the only reason why you may fail is because you become scared and that you are timid. Also remember, your primary starting point is believing in yourself and encouraging yourself even in the face of failure and naysayers. Edison won and Abraham Lincoln won after many failures. So can you. One thing about these men, they challenged themselves. They inspired others with their courage and they pushed ahead. Remember, a man is what he thinks about all day long. So says Ralph Waldo Emerson. Now, we do believe that one can be a loser if he or she does not have a clear-cut path to winning or they just give up. People do not necessarily lose because of lack of effort. They lose for lack of planning, self-development, skills, education, funding, and lack of focus. One's path has to be well thought out. Our behavior must be focused on the task of winning. Before Dale Carnegie went to bed at night, he re-evaluated his day. He thought about what he did well and what he did not do well. One must have clearly defined goals and distinct thinking. When we finish with the next 3 or 4 shows, we're going to discuss 3 men who were winners. All 3 of these men are black. Inherent in the winning were the words fight and resistance. The reason why we chose these three black men is because we seldom hear of black men winning. We always hear of black men going into prison, but not black men winning. And there's thousands and thousands of black men who win, who raise their families, who go to work, and they retire and receive a pension. Three men that we're going to discuss put everything on the line to win, but behind their behavior were the words fight and resistance. Please keep those two words in mind. Now, back to winning. The best way to talk about winning is to talk about what not to do if you want to win in life. Listen to me. The best way to talk about winning is to talk about what not to do to win at life. One of them is having unprotected sex. Okay? If you want to win, then you do not want to be burdened down with 3 or 4 children and you're uneducated. There is nothing wrong with having children, but you cannot take care of your children properly and plan for their future and live your future if you are uneducated, which means the only place you can work is McDonald's or Wendy's. So, if you want to win, then you have to know what not to do. You do not associate with people who are practicing the art of losing, like getting up in the morning and smoking marijuana. You do not participate or associate with people who do not like to go to work, or who is always late going to work, or people who are always quitting, or people who are always being fired. You do not associate with people when their parents don't like them, when their parents don't want to have anything to do with them, when their parents will not loan them any money. So it's not so much a winning as not knowing what to do. You need to know what not to do in order to win at life. You do not run around with people in stolen cars. You do not visit your friends in dope houses. When you read the book, What You Must Do to Win, the first thing you're going to do, you're going to be shocked when the author uses the word, you need to stop being stupid. If the word stupid defines your life, then you need to start learning what not to do if you want to become a winner. Now, as you begin reading the book, What You Must Do to Win, the author discusses a man who, from all intents and purposes, was supposed to be a loser at life. This man was born poor. He was born black. He could not tap dance. He couldn't play an instrument. He couldn't sing. He couldn't play baseball, and he couldn't play basketball. His parents were not educated. And as a child, he went to school, and the school had very little resources, and he was born of a different sexual persuasion, yet he won at life. The author poses the question to her readers, why did this man win? Then the author makes this statement, are you afraid of laughter? Do you sit at home or on the bus or in your car, wringing your hands with your stomach tied in knots, worrying about what someone will think or say about you if you try something new and fail? The author says, don't worry. There is no need to worry because if you don't try, you can't fail. With these sentences, the author tells you you don't have to be concerned with failure if you don't try. Then the author moves on and asks her readers, are they not tired of being a fool? Now that's a very upsetting question, but you need to think about it. What makes a person a fool? One thing that makes a person a fool is if he or she keeps repeating the same bad behavior over and over again. Think about it. You have to be foolish if you keep driving around in stolen cars. You keep going to dope houses. You keep associating with people who are not going anywhere. You keep associating with people who get fired all the time. You keep associating with people who are late all the time. You keep associating with people who have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 babies by 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 women. So, at this juncture, the first question you need to ask yourself is, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? So, when you're looking at the word winning, the author does not look at the situation as someone playing a sport or driving a fast car. She's talking about ordinary people. You are to look at the dynamics of one's thinking. How does one win? What are the tools that you need to purchase, buy to win? There are some people out there winning, so what are they doing that you're not doing? But the one thing that you cannot do is become jealous and envious. Then you start doing and thinking how to do hateful things to the people that you see winning around you. We just finished a discussion on jealousy and envy, and you need to go back and listen to it on my YouTube channel. If you begin to feel jealousy and envy watching other people win, do not become angry at those people. You need to re-examine your behavior because you are the problem, not these people. You need to get a hold of yourself. Cry if you have to. Then if you can't find out the answer why you keep losing, then you need to go talk to a professional. You need to talk to a social worker, a psychiatrist, or a psychologist, but someone that can help you find out why you keep losing, especially women. Why do you keep having baby after baby after baby after baby? Why do you keep allowing men to use you as a toilet? Why do you not have self-respect? It is time to grow up and face that woman in the mirror. It's pure and simple. It is time to grow up and face the person that you have become and then decide to make a change and then go about completing that change. If not for yourself, at least for the sake of your children. One of the most effective ways of getting ahead in life is by learning from the mistakes and successes of other people. This way, one can avoid the mistakes other people have made and possibly achieve success faster. This is one of the reasons why you cannot afford not to read the series Women of Courage. In this series of books, the lives and times of several women were chronicled who by sheer courage conquered the world around them. These women are examples of the quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "When a resolute young fellow steps up to the great bully, which is the world, and takes him boldly by the beard, he is often surprised to find out that the beard comes off in his hand and that it was only tied on to scare away the timid adventurer." These are ordinary women like all of us, but they were determined to do extraordinary things. From the stories of their lives, you will learn how to stop making and living a mediocre life and start conquering your world and living on your own terms. For them, failure was not an option. Rather, it was an opportunity to refire and reach for their goals again. They have shown tremendous courage, so much that their lives could easily serve as a template for other women to emulate. Your primary starting point is believing in yourself and encouraging yourself even in the face of failure and naysayers. Thomas Edison failed numerous times, but he kept going. Finally, he won and invented the light bulb and other inventions. The same with Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln failed at politics many times. He even ran for dog catcher and lost. but he kept running for public office until he was elected president. One thing about the series Women of Courage, the books are not ordinary books. These books will challenge you, push you, and of course inspire you to gain your life again. Remember, a man is what he thinks about all day, so said Ralph Waldo Emerson. This video was brought to you by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries. Why not email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com and learn about the programs we have to assist women. We welcome women who wish to participate. Surely you have a few hours each month to help us with one of our programs. We believe that one of our programs, Recruiting Citizens, The Wall Project, Black Women in Cancer, Teach Someone to Read, will interest you, where you might volunteer once a month to help us. Our primary function is to assist women in changing their lives. Email us today. We would appreciate your help. Join us at the Women of Courage Show every Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. and every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. for information that will change your life. You can also visit us at our website, touchedbythelight.us, for more information. Thank you. If you do not like your life, then change it. Listen to us when we broadcast, and we can help you find a new way.